Hey, everybody, welcome on back. It's the Rubbin' Is Racing podcast. It's myself. It's Spider in Chicago. It's actually Quigs in Chicago also, settling down in the Windy City for the first time. I got Liam on the ones and twos, and we got Mike sitting in also off the camera. He'll be the voice of God. How's everybody doing? Everybody good?
Good.
All right,
Good to be back.
So we just got out of Kansas. We're going into Bristol. This podcast is brought to you by NASCAR. Are you not entertained? It's been a great season so far. I thought Kansas was a great race, particularly at the end. We're going to keep this thing going right into a Bristol night race. That's going to be Saturday night, which I fucking adore. We get a couple of these a year, and this is one of them. So make sure you tune in at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the USA Network for the Bass Pro Shops night race at Bristol. We're going to have a 500 lapper that will conclude the Cup Series playoffs round of 16. 4 drivers will be eliminated, and that's it. And we'll move on with the next 12. Headlines. We're going to start with headlines first. Congratulations to the Allmendinger family. AJ Allmendinger. AJ's real name is Anthony James Allmendinger. Everyone calls him AJ. He and his wife just welcomed their first kid, and it's a son. They also wanted to name him AJ, but instead of Anthony James, they went with Aero James. A-E-R-O James.
It's a great name.
Do you think so?
It sounds fast.
It does. It
like
sounds
it.
very fast. But what if this... I don't know when people do that. Like when they name their kids fucking Maverick and the kid winds up playing, chess for a living or something like that. Is the onus now on little Aero James, AJ Allmendinger, to get behind the wheel of a car?
Yeah, I think so.
He's gotta.
I mean, when you get like a cool name like that, you have to do something cool. Like
Same with Ace Dillon.
Yeah. NASCAR people give their kids pretty cool names. So congratulations on their bundle of joy, Aero James. Another big headline, NASCAR had announced, we're taping on Wednesday, they announced yesterday on Tuesday that they reinstated Noah Gragson. He'll compete in the ASA race this weekend at Toledo, but we have no idea what he's going to do as far as within Cup Series or Xfinity going forward. Noah also had released a statement saying how he's spent this time off working on himself, personally and all that stuff. So we're very happy to see that NASCAR is moving forward, and now we're just waiting for the announcement. Spider, have you been reading the tea leaves? Is there anything we can say about the possibility of where Noah's going? I know you just saw a tweet that people are trying to pick apart like the Zapruder film from Kaulig Racing. What's going on?
So I got 2 things. Kaulig Racing just tweeted a photo of 2 guys shaking hands and said Friday. So meaning the day after this podcast dropping, they will announce a driver for them. The arm, to me, looks, and a lot of people on Twitter, as I'm reading replies, looks like Matt DiBenedetto's hairy Italian arm. There's a lot of drivers I'm ruling off just based on the amount of hair or the size of said arm. But as much as that's true, I'm also hearing from the same source I mentioned a couple weeks ago on this show. Mm-hmm. This was a buddy that Large and I met, a buddy of Noah Gregson's that Large and I met in Talladega, and then we also saw again in Daytona. In Daytona, he told me that Noah would be racing in the Cup Series next year. This past weekend, he told me that Noah's deal is done, and he is of the belief it is for the Cup Series. So I don't know. It is pretty convenient overlapping with the timing of Kaulig's announcement. Mm-hmm. As you said, Large, Noah just got reinstated. And then, as I mentioned, Kaulig said they had an announcement to share on Friday regarding future drivers. So who knows? It could be Matt DiBenedetto. I've seen people say Daniel Hemrick. I've seen people say Justin Allgaier. I'm personally pulling for Noah Gragson. I would like to see him remain in Cup Series. And the source, which I previously ranked as C confidence grade, is doubling down on the reports that they're feeding me. So who knows?
It won't make it till Friday.
Like, you don't think so?
They posted an hour ago. I think by the end of the day, the internet detectives will figure it out. They'll start looking at the freckles on people's arms in that picture, and somebody will debate. Like it always happens. They always try to do like silhouettes of people to like tease announcements, and that gets just the internet just figures out who it is way before they want to actually announce it.
A fake arm, or like it's like someone.
That's what
like
they should do.
Media manager's hand, And really,
Could
they
be.
signed Bubba Wallace or something.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I
would
can
be great
say
if it was Bubba.
That'd be an elite plot twist, right?
it's definitely not Tony Breidinger, and it's definitely not Bubba Wallace. I could say that with confidence. It's good, right? I mean, Matt D is a friend of the firm. He had piloted the All Right Frankie car for us, so it'd be nice to see him get a shot. And I'm waiting with bated breath to see what the fuck Noah's going to do. But I think your source now is moving up to probably a B minus. Spider, would you go C plus B minus?
I'll give him a B minus. I'm holding out hope. This is one that I don't really believe. I more so am hoping for. Whereas everything else I've reported to date, I genuinely believed. So I hope this guy is right. But I don't know that I necessarily believe it. I guess you got to earn your trust with me. So we'll see if he's right.
By the way, shout out to John Hunter Nemechek's team, who made sure that we were one of the first to market. And to Quiggs's point, that was pretty well telegraphed. Everyone kind of thought that was going to happen. So it wasn't a huge surprise when they made the announcement that he would be piloting car for Legacy next season. But it was very, very nice of them to have him in, and we, having a relationship with John Hunter is wonderful. So I got to give them a shout out. I also want to mention from the jump here that we do have a guest this week. I had mentioned his story last week. That kid who was working in Outback, Stephen Malazzi, and Outback said, drive our car. That's basically it. So we'll get into the story with him a little bit down the road when we go three wide with Steven. But it's a great human interest story. And the more that I'm learning about NASCAR, the more I'm learning that it's just chock filled with good people. Sammy Mayer returns to JR Motorsports in 2024. So he'll be back piloting the number one. He's got 2 wins this season, and he's in the Xfinity playoffs. So congratulations to Sam. Tuesday, pretty big headline. NASCAR announced the return of stage brake cautions at all road courses beginning at Charlotte Roval in October. We'll be in attendance. We'll be at the race at Charlotte Roval. People are pretty mad about this though, Quiggs.
I love that.
Do you like that?
I think they need them. I think they need them. I feel like I don't know. I do understand it's a lot more pure racing with no stage breaks, but some races need people to get stacked back up.
Yep.
Just for an entertainment factor, for gambling, it's nice to get a couple more shots at being back in the race. And I think it benefits it. And it's the stages have become so normal now, we're used to them, that when they're not there, it's kind of weird. I like it.
I'm with Quiggs.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Spider.
I'm with Quiggs. I think as much as it stinks when you have the driver leading and they have a wide margin and then a stage or a caution comes out and everyone resets, it stinks. But as Quiggs said, the entertainment factor, the crashes, the passing, the restarts are the most exciting part of the sport. So, I mean, if you do away with those, it's not as entertaining.
And you're adding 2 extra restarts, so you're not doing too much to change it. I just think it's good to stack them up every once in a while.
I don't think it's a big deal. I don't know if I agree with it. I don't know if I agree with it happening just kind of on a whim after the playoff starts. NASCAR can certainly change the rules when they need to, like they did with Cole Custer winning the Xfinity race in Chicago. Remember they cut that short than the minimal allotted laps. So they've done it before this season, but you would think they would have those ducks in a row before the playoffs started, because I think they had said they want the playoff races to all kind of run similar, having stage breaks. And again, I think the casual fan likes, and we're I think above casual at this point, does like the stage breaks because of the restarts and the pileups and the crashes and all that kind of shit. I kind of like the way some of these road courses were flying by. Those races without the extra 2 stage. And I know your point, it's just fucking too large. But I don't know. I'm on the fence with this one. I don't normally like to sit on the fence, but I'm a little bit on the fence with this.
That being said, it almost should be the opposite. It should almost be regular season, add the stage breaks. Let's make that race exciting. Playoffs, no stage breaks. May the best man win. If you got a car that can get a 15-second lead, hey, it's the playoffs. That's kind of what it feels like it should be.
And that's exactly what they gone away from. Like
Yeah, they're doing the
best
opposite.
man wins. It's almost like they want to give a chance to somebody who's not who's not driving that well. So
Yeah.
I don't know. If I'm going to be on either side, you guys have 4 stage breaks. I think I'm against them. So that's it. But that's what makes a market. One thing I want to remind people. So Kansas last week, we're in the playoffs. Kansas last week was on USA. And then I had mentioned the night race this week on Saturday is also on the USA. We're going into the final 2 races for the USA Network schedule for 2023. So you got the round of 16 finale at Bristol, like I had said, and then the round of 12 opener at Texas Motor Speedway on September 24th. And then after that, the rest of the playoffs, I believe, then migrate over to NBC, so it'll be no more USA. It's just for people who want to keep that thing straight. But let's go to Kansas to see what happened. So we're going to recap, do an over-under for the Kansas race last weekend. And this recap over-under is brought to you by our good friends at Cabo Wabo Tequila. Cabo Wabo Tequila is the official tequila partner of NASCAR. It's not just tequila either. It's damn good, thick cut, 100% Blue Weber agave. I got that burned into my brain. Cabo Wabo Tequila and NASCAR are teaming up to bring thick cut flavor to race days at home and at the tracks. The Cabo Wabo Smoke Show is Cabo Wabo Tequila's signature cocktail made for the NASCAR partnership. Extremely easy to make. Me and Spider were shaking them up in Michigan just a couple of weeks ago. So Cabo Wabo Tequila is bringing bold flavor to the racetrack. Go to CaboWabo.com to learn more. You must be 21 years or older or up. I'm actually going to be seeing these guys tonight, Spider. I'm going to the Cabo Wabo offices for a little bit of a happy hour. Look at me. So go get yourself some, and it's a good tequila to sip while you're watching a race. So Kansas was awesome. I thought, again, this was a racetrack that I don't know if people put it as being synonymous with being one of the better racetracks on the schedule, but that's what it's turned into. It started on Saturday where John Hunter Nemechek, our new friend, dominated for his 6th win of the season. He is very good. And he's grinding it out. Then you go to Sunday. Christopher Bell sat on the pole, but again, he's got pit problems, right? Like Christopher Bell his pit crew cannot get it right. He lost 5 positions after having to retighten a wheel in the pit. I think one of the bigger stories for me, at least, and maybe for you guys too, because we love him so much, is what happened to Martin Truex. I mean, blown tire, and he hits the wall in lap 4, and now his season's in jeopardy. 3 weeks ago, this guy's the cock of the walk. A comfortable lead going into the regular season championship, kind of shits the bed at Darlington to a degree, shits the bed in Kansas. I'm not pointing blame. It just happened to him. Can Martin Truex Jr. have 3 bad races in a row and be bounced in the round of 16?
I think he can have 4. I think if he has a tough race coming up here at Bristol night race, he's going to be screwed. Obviously, but
and that can happen at Bristol, without you doing anything wrong. Your day can get ruined there.
But so a seasoned veteran like Martin, right? One of the older guys in Cup Series. So is he driving different? Is he now drive to survive as opposed to, and then once he gets into the round of 12, maybe he feels like he has a fresh set of downs, and then he can try and get that championship. But do you think he's going to be, I don't know, wrapped in bubble wrap for this thing? Almost like I just got to finish. I got to know what I need to do. I think he's 7 points in the red right now. Is it one of those things that's going to really affect him?
I think he'll be pretty conservative. I mean, he's a veteran driver late in his career. He clearly just wants to remain in the playoffs and have a shot at winning the championship. So I think he probably will be a little bit reserved. But that also being said, he is 7 points in the red, as you said, so he needs to make something happen. So I think if there's a window open for him to kind of pull some crazy move, he might try to do it. But at the same time, I would expect him to be pretty conservative.
Quiggs?
I don't know. I think you just get out there and race. I mean, you can have the plan, but also Bristol, you're probably, if you get in a wreck, you can probably still keep going. You're not going at that high speeds, but I don't know. I would think he gets out there, race like he normally does, but if he did not finish or something happens, he's screwed, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, if there's something where the regular season champion should be given a bye And maybe that affects the integrity of the sport. And I'm saying that changing the stage break thing also kind of affects the integrity. So I'm being hypocritical. But maybe the regular season champion gets a bye through the round of 12 at least, because otherwise it's a little bit embarrassing to get bounced, I think, within the first 3 races. But either way, I mean, we're obviously pulling for him. I haven't bet on him all season. I've lost a lot of money not betting on him. So hopefully he turns his fucking ship around. I'll tell you who else I'm losing money on betting is Denny Hamlin. I mean, Denny Hamlin's had the, fastest car, week in and week out, and he was all poised to win at Kansas. And then that late caution with the restart and Tyler Reddick pulling his antics kind of shot my card to shit. But Kyle Larson won stage 1. Brad K won stage 2. It was nice to see Brad get some points. And then Buescher blew the tire in OT. Reddick takes the checkered flag. And so Tyler Reddick and Kyle Larson from the past 2 weeks are now guaranteed, to move up to the next level of the playoffs. The only thing that I'd seen from this on the restart, the only interesting thing I'd seen, I thought it was interesting when Suarez stayed out. It sort of jammed everything up at the end for the guys who are up top. But the move that Tyler Reddick had made and some of the moves that Denny had made backing up onto Larson to a certain degree really fucked this race for him and for me. So I got a little bit of animosity towards it, even though, again, I'm a huge Tyler Reddick fan as well. So I'm very, very glad he won. It's his 5th career Cup win. It's his 2nd on a 1.5-mile track. And more importantly, what people have been pointing out, it's the 3rd win by the 45 car in the last 4 races there. And it's the 3rd win by the 45 car with 3 different drivers, which hasn't happened before. So Kurt Busch, Bubba, and now Tyler Reddick. So, I mean, all the way around, congratulations to Tyler. But I think there was some fast cars there that probably would have been in contention. Obviously, Denny Hamlin being one of them. And I think Martin Truex, too. He didn't blow a fucking tire on the 4th lap, where he could have been in some trouble. How do you guys feel about Tyler's win? And how do you feel about that kind of momentum going, into Bristol?
I thought he the way he was racing was just very smart. He had multiple passes where he was 3rd or 4th and was just waited for the guy in 1st and 2nd to really be battling it out and just get side by side, and then he went low and passed both of them while they're kind of taking a little speed off each other. He did that pass maybe 2-3 times, and that was the one he did for the lead. At the end, his car was a rocket ship. When he was making that move, he just looked way faster than everyone he was passing. So I thought it was very good racing from him.
What do you think about? What do you think about Denny? I'm going to ask you something real specific, Spider. What do you think about Denny losing to Tyler Reddick? He went over there and congratulated him. Obviously, Denny being a part owner of 2311. So we see Brad K kind of pulling up second to Chris Buescher. We've seen that this year. How do we feel that this is becoming sort of a theme where the owner?
I don't feel that way at all. I look at Denny Hamlin's incident with Kyle Larson, someone he's very good friends with, and he had no remorse. Denny wanted the win himself. I believe Denny was going for the win in this situation as well, and Tyler Reddick just beat him fair and square. Unbelievable finish to this race. But I think it's also super encouraging for Toyota. You now have 2311 that's emerged as a threat at this track and a powerhouse Toyota team that is going to stay with Toyota, as we heard last week. And, usually we've only had the Gibbs cars up front on behalf of Toyota for the most part. And right now, the cut line, there's 3 Toyotas. Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin represent Joe Gibbs, and then Tyler Reddick, who's in second for 2311. So I think it's kind of good. I mean, if you told me that there were going to be 3 Toyotas in this point above the cut line, I'm not sure I would have picked these 3, but everything's super optimistic for 2311, in my opinion. And Denny, I mean, you didn't win, but at the same time, you still got a lot to be happy for, given the win from your team, 2311, Tyler Reddick.
What did you see as far as over and unders?
So my over-unders for this week, obviously Reddick, I'm taking Reddick, but I also want to take 2311 at Kansas. I think they've found some speed. Maybe it's the next-gen car at this track that's working well or whatever it is, but they've found success, and they've proven it with 3 different drivers now, as you said, Large. So really impressed with them. And then Chase Elliott's another over I had. Not super, impressed with him, but given how he's been racing this year, I think he overexceeded my expectations for this particular race. And then the other one, Eric Jones, I'm not sure where he finished, but
P3.
he was right. P3, yeah, exactly. So he was right there at the end. It seems like the Legacy Motor Club has really come alive here in the second half compared to where they were at the first half of the season. Eric Jones has been running really strong, and then also Carson Hocevar wheeling the Noah's car, the 42, has done a great job filling in as well. So I've seen a lot from them that's impressed me this week. But those are my three big overs, and then my under was just the tires. I don't know if this is like the new Atlanta or what's going on with the track, but for whatever reason, it seemed to be pretty abrasive on the tires. We saw 3 playoff drivers lose tires here, Truex early on, which, put him in this tough position he's in now. We saw Bubba Wallace lose a tire. Luckily, he kind of recovered from that. And then I believe McDowell as well in this race lost a tire. So tough for 3 playoff guys, especially at this point in the season. Nothing they can really do. So, especially in the case of Martin Truex, it just seemed like horrible luck.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm loving what I'm seeing out of Eric Jones. Best driver in the worst car is what I've been calling him.
Yeah.
One of the things, too, is, certain people kind of disappear in the playoffs, and I haven't seen so much from Kyle Busch. And then he had a problem qualifying where he'd hit the wall. So he started 35th, but he finished 7th. Like, Kyle Busch had a pretty good race for a top 10 to think about where he started and where he finished. And he's got nothing but momentum going into Bristol, a place that he's very good at. So Kyle Busch is a guy. And the only, you know what? And Joey Logano. Like, I thought Joey Logano, he'd said after the race, I just got a P5 and I'm not in a top 5 car. Like, so the moves that he made is particularly in and around that final restart. That's Joey. That's Joey being a talented driver, maybe without the fastest car, but still managing to squeak out, in the top 5. That's impressive to me. And then I'll throw one under at you too, Spider. Tyler Reddick, when he hit the winner's circle, is it Roof Mortgage, whatever it is, in Kansas, they give you a rib. And like you have to eat and the rib looked dry as shit. I don't know what it was. I wasn't a fan of that. I mean, I know like the chugging of the milk and all these different things that people do in winter circles. And believe me, I've spilt more ribs than you guys have eaten in your lives. I'm a big rib guy. I just didn't like it. It seemed like Tyler was like, oh, okay, I'll eat a fucking rib.
Yeah, probably not the time or place for a rib.
I would think so. So with that, I think we're going to go to that human interest story right now that I was talking about at the top. Let's talk to Stephen Malazzi. All right, guys. So as promised, we're going to go we're going to go 3 wide with Steve Mozzarella with Steve Malazzi. Steve, before we get to you, we're going to say that this segment is brought to you by Outback, and you guys are going to see why in just one second. From bloomin' onions to the Alice Springs chicken, and of course the Victoria's barrel cut filet, which is Spider's favorite, Outback Steakhouse has the bold flavors you and your mates will crave. Outback steaks are seasoned with their signature blend of 17 herbs and spices, then seared to perfection. If you love steak, and you love lobster, but you can't choose, you don't have to. For a limited time, Outback Steakhouse is serving this fan-favorite combo starting at just $24.99. Enjoy Outback's center-cut sirloin paired with a succulent steamed lobster tail and Outback's signature sides, all for just $24.99. This offer won't last long, so go visit Outback.com to find a location near you or order online through the Outback app to score this delicious deal before it's gone. The Outback Steakhouse is ranked number 1 in the 2023 American Customer Satisfaction Index for overall satisfaction, food and beverage quality, and menu variety. So we're about to tear into it now, and you're going to see why. So Stephen Malazzi, he's the guy that I had mentioned in last week's episode. He had gotten home after driving back from Darlington, I believe. I got back at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I still made my noon shift out Outback. And then Outback had said, holy shit, this is what you're doing? We'd like to sponsor you for your next race. Is that a good little recap of your life, Stephen? Can you tell us exactly what went down while Spider and I just sit here and eat?
Pretty much. And there's so much to this friggin' story. But in terms of the Outback story itself, how I even ended up at Outback is ridiculous. When I moved to Charlotte originally to go after racing, I actually lost my job at Domino's because I got too many speeding tickets.
Whoa.
So
that's good.
I had a very good relationship with all my bosses. They're like, just quit. They're like, we don't want to fire you, but we're gonna have to let you go. We can't cover you under our insurance policy with all these speeding tickets you got.
Right.
I'm like, what's a good job that I could get? I'm like, probably serving would be the next best thing. I'm like, what's my favorite restaurant? It's Outback Steakhouse. And when I was growing up with my old man doing racing stuff, my dad and I, after every race weekend, we'd always find an Outback Steakhouse. We get a Outback special 6-ounce sirloin rare with a salad and a baked potato. Without fail, every time it's what we would do. So I'm like, absolutely, I want to friggin' work at Outback. That's my place. So I got a job there a few years ago, and then, like you said, I did Mid Ohio last year, and I was like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't know if it's really sustainable. A bunch of things happened that kind of led to me racing at Martinsville in April. Mm-hmm. And that race was a shit show. There's no other way to put it. It was a complete and utter absolute shit show. On and off rain delays. We ran like 60 laps under green. The other 65 were under yellow. They called the race halfway through. And it took so long that it started at 7 and ended at like 12:30. And I packed up, changed. I finished last. We, of course, in the truck series we're in one of the only friggin' races where everybody finished, and we had a battery problem. And I got back in my car, drove myself back to my apartment in Charlottesville, about 3 hours away, and went to bed, fell asleep in the crusty ass underwear I had just driven in. Like, didn't even change. I couldn't even do it. I didn't have it in me. I woke up the next morning, showered, put on the Outback uniform, and hopped to work. And I'm like midway through my shift, and I'm thinking to myself, it is absolutely ridiculous that I am out here just giving people their bloomin' onions and their steaks. Mm-hmm. They have no idea that last night I was a NASCAR driver, and today I'm just their waiter. And I think it would be crazy if I tweeted about this, because most people in NASCAR today, it's all about the dinero, and they've got some wealthy parents. Probably is usually what seems to happen nowadays. And me, I'm just here. Like I made it all happen on my own accord, and I'm like, hey, this is what it's like being a small time racing driver. I finish up driving the next day. I'm giving people their cheese fries and wings and Alice Springs chicken. So, and as I'm at work that day, I just keep getting Twitter notifications, and it's going off. Like, people are freaking blowing it up. So I finish up the shift, and I sit down in a booth with my dinner. And I look up who the executive director for marketing is at Outback Steakhouse. And I find her Twitter, and I tag her in the tweet. And about a week and a half later, I walk into work, and my boss, the guy is the proprietor of the location, great guy named Richard. Richard walks up to me and is like, dude, he's like, we got to talk. I'm like, what the hell did I do? Am I about to get fired from the job that I love so much? He's like, no. He's like, somebody noticed you. He's like, you did something, that tweet that you sent the other day that you were telling me about. He's like, somebody at corporate saw it. And he's like, we're having some real conversations here. And it kind of just spiraled from there.
And so they had no idea who they had working for them, correct? They had no idea that this was your passion. This was I'll call it a part-time job, right? Because you're going to run 5 or 6 races a season, so part-time job, we'll call it a part-time job. And I guess when you think about it, it's not like you worked for a local diner. You're working for a global company, right? Yeah. So it's very easy. I don't know how many employees they have, but it's very easy to have people, their individual stories, fall through the cracks. So they find out about this. And like we find out about this. Kenny Wallace finds out about this. Like all these people find out about this. And so Outback immediately says, hey, listen, we'd like you to drive our truck in Bristol. That's basically how it goes. And you're like, sure, no problem. Is that how easy, and I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy to get spun, but is that just what happes?
Kinda. I mean, this deal took months to put together.
Really?
We had to hop through a lot of hurdles and get it all organized the right way to make sure that we were doing this the right way. Right. And think of it this way. For multi-million-dollar corporations, their marketing budgets are set in July of the prior year, basically.
Yes.
You know where they're going with it, right? So when you come to them and they find you in May of the year, you're trying to get something done, you got to really scratch and claw to figure it out. And everybody at Outback, from top to bottom, worked so hard to get this all figured out so we could really put it together this year. And like for me personally, I can't describe how it feels that this restaurant that I loved so much as a kid growing up has ended up coming back to support me after I've been an employee for it's so bizarre. And sometimes when I'm like sitting back and thinking about it, I'm like, holy shit, this doesn't even feel real to me. So I wouldn't say it was easy. I think that it took a lot more effort than is going to be seen on the outside. And I think the press kind of wrote itself, right? Like everybody who saw this story is like, damn, this seems like something I want to hop on. And for me, that's awesome because as a small time racing driver, right? A guy who's just trying to make his way, literally just scrape enough money to get to the track. I'm not trying to drive a Kyle Busch Motorsports truck yet, right? Like I just want to get there, get some experience, run some laps, and build a brand, build a reputation. If that's your objective, when you pull on an Outback Steakhouse, that shit helps a lot.
Oh, like, sure.
That is an absolutely enormous thing to gain. And I've already gotten phone calls and talked to some other potential sponsors who've been like, yeah, well, you got Outback Steakhouse on board. Maybe we should think about it too. And that is the biggest thing that they could give me, even greater than the money they're giving me to run Bristol and get all over the truck. It's freaking awesome. And they've been so supportive and helpful throughout this whole thing. I cannot emphasize it enough.
Steven, excuse me. You talked about your journey up to the NASCAR levels and whatnot. What advice would you give to someone like yourself, grinding to get involved in the sport? And obviously you're working nonstop to make that happen.
Yeah, it's always tough. And it comes down to how bad you want it. That's the biggest advice I would give people. Like, at the end of the day, I have been raised by my mom and my dad to always believe that if you really want something, you cannot complain about it until you have done every friggin' thing you possibly can to make it happen. And what basically happened to me, and I'll give you the short version of what is a superficially long story.
Right.
When I grew up kart racing, I was a regional champ. I won a bunch of Northeast championships in asphalt karting. I won a national championship. I was a Team USA representative. They flew me to Portugal to friggin' race against 54 other countries. I was pretty badass at it, but I was also a little spoiled because at that time, Dad really did pay for everything. Mm-hmm. And I kind of have that same background. And I believed inherently that I had believed inherently that I was entitled to race. Then my dad got diagnosed with stage 4 small cell terminal lung cancer. And that was in 2016. I was a sophomore in high school. And I'm like, this is it. My freaking, like, what the hell am I supposed to do now? So obviously racing goes on the back burner. Your life perspective changes. You've got more things to focus on. I left the sport, didn't even touch it for 5 years. And those 5 years go by. My dad's still around and actually is still around to this day.
Oh, great.
He's still with us. He's actually going to be at Bristol. We're getting ready to leave in a couple hours to start heading down to the track. And it's January. It's 21. It's during COVID. So I'm at home. I'm not at Virginia, which is where I went to college. And Dad walks into my room and is like, what the hell is your problem? And my dad, long fuse, really long fuse. But when it blows, he knows what to do. So he walks in and he's like, what's up? What's going on? What's your problem? I'm like, Dad, I never got my chance to race, as if I had been entitled to get a chance to race to begin with. And he gets mad, throws his arms up, like walks out of the room, and then he turns around. He stomps back in. He sticks his finger right in my face, and he goes, son, let me tell you something. If I treated my cancer the way you treated racing, I would have been dead 5 fucking years ago.
Whoa.
Turned around, walked away, did not say another word to me. For like a day. It was a solid 24 hours before he spoke to me. And for somebody that had a relationship with my father the way that I did, hearing that from him it's like a kick in the balls. There's no other way to put it. It's utterly ridiculous. So I was inspired. I emailed every single NASCAR team owner, and eventually I ended up moving to Charlotte and getting a job down there with Josh Rayum and Rayum Brothers Racing. And I worked from 9 to 5 at the shop, internship, unpaid, and then was delivering and serving after I got let go from Domino's. I was serving at Outback for basically all the night shifts that I could pick up. And
I think when I told your story last week, I had mentioned that you were working at Outback since 2003.
Yeah.
I misspoke on that. Because how old are you?
I am 22. I was a 2001
Yeah.
baby.
So I said 2003. So
Yeah.
you've been at this grind since you're in diapers. So I apologize for that misstep last week.
Yeah.
Spider, I just so you know, normally with Spider and I, it's a pretty equal thing. Spider has not stopped fucking eating. I should mention,
Yeah.
Outback obviously has catered this. In your office, Steve, you have it in front of you. I have it in front of me in New York, and Spider has, by the way, a much bigger spread than me up in Chicago. I think he's got like bread and.
I'm almost ready for another bloomin' onion, Steven.
We'll get that going. We'll get that working for you right away.
Let me ask you something. Did you find a cheat code? Did you find a cheat code that every driver now who is kind of struggling like you, and we know that there's a lot more drivers struggling than there are drivers not struggling. We've come to learn that with our talks with a lot of people, Jeb and, Jeffrey and Haley and stuff like that. They've given us some of the nuts and bolts about trying to, afford to do this thing that you love. Did you find the cheat code? Will you find all these other guys, part-time drivers, starting to take jobs at Chili's and then start tweeting the shit out of themselves, getting the queso dip out there, saying that they're, I'm so exhausted from Dover. Like, is that the move? Is that how Bubba got McDonald's? That's not true. But, because if that's true, I probably have a beer thing in my future. Do you think that's a cheat code? The cheat code?
No, I don't. I think, and this is not me just plugging my employer here. I truly think that Outback is a special company. Like everything that I've done at Outback, again, I have been advertising for Outback for free for the past 4 months. If you've ever looked at any of my Twitter, it's all about Outback Steakhouse. Every single tweet I send is Outback Steakhouse. That's kind of been my MO. But I really think I don't think every company would do it. I think it's a special thing that Outback has done for me as a driver, as an employee, to show this kind of respect for the people who work for them. And I think they would go on above and beyond. They do, and they will continue to go above and beyond for all of their employees if they see the opportunity. Now, in terms of somebody getting queso dip, I could not imagine a Chili's race car. That just seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it would not look anywhere near as good as the Outback Steakhouse race car.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, the crazy thing about it is, and it's also a little frustrating for me, we will never know who the best drivers in NASCAR really are. And you just rambled off a great list of names of all people who are not big time, but are also not quite my level of small time. Mm-hmm. But they're somewhere in the middle ground. And I think Jeb's a really good example, actually. I don't know that we'll ever know how good Jeb Burton is. Mm-hmm. And I think this Jordan Anderson deal for him is a sweet thing because it's a great mid-tier ride, and he's outperforming it week in and week out and getting inside the top 12, top 13, top 14 kind of area. And but the question becomes, what are you grinding for? Are you hoping that one day Rick Hendrick gives you a call and says, hey, buddy, hop in the 5 car, Kyle Larson retired? There's not any rides anymore that are like that. It's all, even if you look at some of the big names, a lot of these guys are guys who have really stout connections within the industry, and that's how they end up getting into the seat. So basically, I'm trying to run through a brick wall with nothing but my body, and it freaking hurts.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
So would you say then that maybe not on the Cup Series level, but would you say that the most successful drivers below the Cup Series are not necessarily the most talented?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's weird to say, right, Spider? It's not insulting, and it's not calling anybody out, but there's a lot of talent that unfortunately doesn't have the backing that'll never, even with all the storylines, like we saw about people switching cars, obviously the Noah Gragson story, which we talk about, who's jumping in what seat. It's such a finite number with an infinite number of talented drivers.
It's very fluid, very fluid.
Not only oops, sorry, go.
I wanted to know, back to the Outback thing, what's your favorite, let's say someone came in and you're serving them and they have never been to Outback before. What are you telling them to get? Walk me through your recommendations.
Easy, got to get a bloomin' onion. 110% need. If you don't get a bloomin' onion at Outback, I don't know what you're doing, man. You need the bloom. I always tell them, listen, you're at a steakhouse. You should be getting one of our famous steaks. That's what you got to be picking up. I will say, though, I have started to diversify my Outback portfolio, especially because I feel more inclined to talk about the menu now. And honestly, it's very helpful as a server to know the things that you're selling people. So like a lot of their non-steak items are actually fantastic. Like the Bloomin' Fried Chicken, that is some good fried chicken.
Whatever these wings are here, these are
The
incredible.
Kookaburra wings, those are some good
The
wings.
Kookaburra wings go crazy.
We are giving Outback way too much shine on this, huh?
Listen,
I mean,
we got to do it. They cater to damn food. Let them have their moment.
I hear you, my friend. So a whole shout out, all praise be Outback. But let me ask you something, because I think your story is interesting.
Yeah.
What's the low point? What's like the act of desperation that you've had to do to sort of, to stay alive in this? Are you going on the weekends and selling semen at the local bank? I don't know. Like, where's the desperation with you?
I don't know if you knew that that's a targeted question, if you've done your research, or if that's just a damn good question.
Might have been a targeted question.
So in June, I had known that this Outback deal was coming, and like it was something that they had wanted to do. And there was conversation about the potential of also doing Talladega with another sponsor later in the year. Ended up falling through, but irrelevant. I knew that to get approved for the full truck schedule, I had to do an intermediate track. And that track, the only track that I could actually be qualified for was St. Louis, was Gateway. And that would help me get to a bigger track like Pocono. And if I did Pocono, I'd be approved for anything else. So I went up the ladder and I'm like, well, I cannot miss Gateway because there is not another track that I will be eligible for that I can hop onto. Problem is St. Louis, I tried everything. Could not find a sponsor for, could not get it going, and I needed to do it. And I'm like, it's time. So I sold my car. I sold my personal vehicle. I'm like, I actually did get a little bit of pushback on the internet for even suggesting this, because my car was a 2021 Dodge Charger, and it was a Scat Pack wide body. But what people don't realize is I got that car through an endorsement deal that I had engaged in for racing. So that was a half-priced car in essence. I didn't pay full price for that vehicle. So it made sense kind of to sell it. And I have this guy who's been living in my basement for 8 years. That's a totally other story that we can talk about another day.
That one sounds interesting.
Yeah.
But he was my old piano teacher. And I bought his 2012 Nissan Altima with like 220,000 miles on it. It was falling apart. And that's what I was driving. It was like $1,000. That's what I was driving around in. Made me miserable. That was my desperation move. I'm like, okay, do I want to be the guy who drives a bright orange Dodge, or do I want to be the guy who said he did everything? And that is the premise I will always live by. Now, to make this even worse, I sell this car. I go to Josh Rayum, and we're able to do it on a budget, which is great because obviously, I like I said, I don't care about running first. I care about getting the experience, continuing to build the brand, do that. And Josh is like, yeah, man, I'll take care of you. We'll do this. We'll do this. We'll do it well. We'll do it right, but we'll do it as cheaply as we can. So we didn't even buy the full allotment of tires. We go to the racetrack, and I actually feel great after practice. I feel like I'm faster than some trucks. I've learned a lot. For the first time, I'm really comfortable behind the wheel. Martinsville was just basically a crapshoot. In mid-Ohio, I literally didn't know how to shift yet. So I was literally learning how to drive a NASCAR truck while I'm actively racing in a NASCAR race. And that is the most insane experience that I've ever had in my whole life.
Yeah.
And then I went on and finished 22nd. So very clearly, I wasn't that bad at it. So we go out. We do 26 laps in the race, and the battery dies. I go on. Now Fox picks up the audio, and I lose my shit. I'm freaking going bananas. So that's embarrassing. I sold my car. I had just found out that we had some complications with Dad's cancer treatment. He wasn't supposed to go. He skipped his chemo treatment to go, and I found out he didn't skip it. They had to switch his treatment because the other one stopped working, and now he had to go to a more aggressive form of treatment. So the whole weekend was just a shit show. And then our flight got delayed at Charlotte Douglas, and I ended up sleeping in an airport that night with my dad. Okay. And it was a horrible experience. And I almost, after I got home that day, I got in the shower, I DoorDashed McDonald's, and to tell you how bad that is, McDonald's is 3 minutes from my house. Yeah. Like I was done. I'm like, I am not getting in that fucking Nissan Altima. There is no way you could not pay me to get behind the wheel of that car right now. I'm door dashing a shitload of McDonald's. I'm eating it in my bed, and I am laying face down on the pillow. I'm done. I'm not doing it.
So selling your car to get into a race. Your dad is battling cancer. How's he doing right now? What's the latest update? Is he okay?
He's pushing. I mean, like, guy still works a full-time job. It's tough. I mean,
God bless him.
The quality of life isn't obviously what it used to be, and there's a lot of stuff that he can't do. But the way he always puts it to me is it's better than the alternative. I mean, you look at the bright side, right? The guy is one of the most positive and strong people I know, and he always keeps pushing through and always finds a way. He had chemo on Monday, and now on Wednesday he's driving to Bristol Motor Speedway with me.
That's fucking fantastic. Give us an idea of what you're going to be doing this week. So it's the Thursday night race, right? So the Craftsman Truck Series playoff round of 8 opener is 9 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday. Give us an idea of what's going to go down in this race. How are you planning to make some headlines? Yeah, because that would be kind of nice too. I remember we were speaking to Noah after Chicago with the Baconator car. And even though Noah didn't really do well in Chicago, he hit that one barrier 6 times. So the Baconator got a lot of fucking press. What can we do to get Outback a little bit more press in Bristol this week, other than try to win this thing?
I would rather get the Bloomin' Onion good press than bad press. I don't think I want to hit the wall 3 times to get
right.
But honestly, like I think the work is done. I've done the legwork. I've talked to a ton of people about it. I think I would be shocked if somebody didn't at least interview me on Fox's side before the race, chat about it. I think we'll get some great airtime in practice and qualifying. Honestly, my goal of this thing is to survive it. Bristol is a chaotic race.
Right.
And for somebody in my position, wrecking a race truck is borderline career ending. Like, you can't recover.
That's true, right? Yeah.
So I mean, I have made my bread and butter, and the good kind from Outback, by basically surviving these races. And finally at Pocono, I was able to start racing some people. Cool. And I feel like now that we're starting to grow that racecraft, I would love to carry that over to Bristol, but we have to find that good middle ground between running well, driving against the cars we're supposed to be competing against, but also we can't do anything stupid. I am not going to make a bonsai pass for 19th on the last lap just because I feel like it and risk a $50,000 crash damage bill. It just ain't going to happen. I'm not. I'm in law school. Okay, I don't have my lovely car anymore.
You're in law school too? That's because you have class at 1:00, right? Where
this is what I'm freaking reading. I'm reading a civil procedure textbook that's open right next to me that I'm going to get back to reading after we're done this interview. And then I'm going to walk on down to civil procedure and sit in a room for 2 hours hearing about personal jurisdiction. Really?
Do you have full sets of tires this go around in Bristol? We're going to have the full complement here?
I think so. But honestly, even for what it's worth, I'm not even sure it matters that much at Bristol.
Yeah, that's true.
The fall off is not as great as it is at other tracks.
Especially I'd like to see you have them. I would want them, right?
I would too. I would like to see me have them too. But we can't obviously overextend what we've been given. And like I said, we're getting to the racetrack. So for me, I'm not going to complain about anything. If we don't get the full allotment, we don't get the full allotment, and I'll drive to the best of my ability like we always can. It does frustrate me a little bit though. Some people are like, yeah, he's not that good. He finished 22nd or 24th. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You don't know shit.
I know.
You don't know. If we wanted to drag race and I gave you $175,000 to go buy a car and you said, all right, Steven, we're going to give you $20,000. You're going to go buy a Ferrari or some shit. And I'm going to get stuck in a Kia Forte. Like, I don't freaking know what I'm going to end up driving, but it's not going to be good. Yeah. And like at the end of the day, there's different. Each team in NASCAR has its role in the field. They know what that role in the field is. There are the teams that are working towards becoming winning programs and using mostly drivers who are developing in their skills. There are teams who are mid-pack teams who are content where they are, and there are teams who are out there to win races. And right now, I'm in the tier of teams. And AM Racing, by the way, great team. I'm not saying that they're in that tier. I'm saying I, as a driver, am in that tier. Right. That's where I am. I'm at the point where, does it really matter if I buy a $2,700 set of tires to run 23rd as opposed to 24th or 27th, or should I be putting that money elsewhere? But it is frustrating to see sometimes the pushback I get on social media or on the internet when people are like, yeah, just, oh, this kid's Steven Malazzi.
Yeah.
He's like, you do it then. Go figure it the hell out. Get behind the wheel of a truck and you go run 25th when I run 27th and I'll shut up. How about that?
I think there's a lot of that in NASCAR that you have to realize that there are certain tiers. And once people can realize that, they can realize that what the outperformance for you is, and then I think that's good. So we're going to wrap up here. I'm always asking people to find somebody to root for. And sometimes Spider and I throw out names like, I don't know if you ever heard of this guy, Dale Earnhardt Jr., but he was so great to Spider and I. And then we constantly bring up like positive stuff. Michael McDowell's story, our story with, Anthony Logano, Joey Logano. So many goddamn Italian names.
You're getting your paisans.
Oh my God, I'm overwhelmed by paisans. But I'm telling everyone, so Steven Malazzi, right? It's you're going to see him race. This drops on Thursday, so it races tonight in the Truck Series in the round of 8. What more do I have to do to make you want to fucking root for this guy? He's probably not going to win, and don't get on his ass for it, but at least we should be rooting for this guy. And I think that if you're somebody out there like an Outback or somebody who does support drivers monetarily, it's a guy that you should definitely be looking at. The only bad thing about him is he's going to be a fucking lawyer and they're the scum of the earth. So, Steven, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Outback, thank you so much for catering this whole fucking thing. And we'll see. We'll talk to you again. How about that?
Yeah, you better. When I win my first race after 37 different starts, you better come back and talk to me.
Damn right. But best of luck to you, man. Yeah, and give my best to your father, obviously.
Yep. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, right, take care, brother. Thank you. Good luck.
All right, so that was Steven. Great story. I think he's another guy that everybody should be pulling for. I mean, if we don't have enough guys that we're looking to pull for here at Rubbin' Racing, add him to the list. So best luck to him in Bristol. Spider, Quiggs, do you see anything paint scheme-wise in Kansas or going into this weekend that jumped out at you?
Yeah, I had 2 favorites at Kansas, and they both came off Ford cars. I love the Sonny D, Kevin Harvick 4 scheme. And yeah, I love Sonny D, so big fan of that ride. And then also Eric Almirola, he went away from the Smithfield black and white, which is iconic, but at the same time a little bit tired in my opinion. I love when Eric does something different. And he had Whataburger on the side of his car, so some nice orange accents on there, which you rarely get from Almirola. So those 2 cars stuck out for me. What do you guys think? Did I miss any?
The Chase Elliott car this weekend is something serious.
Oh man,
that it looks like a winning car. It looks like a car that could be nighttime
10-1
circle.
Yeah, I tell you, nothing jumped out at me too much in Kansas. I mean, I kind of like that Casey's one that Kyle Busch was wheeling with the little pizza off the back wheel. But you're right. This weekend, everyone look at the number 9. That black and gold, the Napa Gold filter car. That thing is sharp. That's fucking Darth Vader. So I think that's affecting the lines. That car is so sharp. Yeah. So I think that's the best one.
It's affecting me. Yeah. You'll see when we get to picking the tires. But
oh, is it? Okay.
Affecting me.
And I think the worst one going into Bristol is going to be Justin Haley's Mountain Dew car, just because it's not a Coke product. So fuck that guy. So with that, I'm going to do a small little twisted history before we go on, if you guys don't mind. It's brought to you by Coca-Cola. Listen, we're in the Coke family of podcasters. Everybody knows that, and we're happy to be part of it. The Coke family of drivers recognize that. So Spider and I this weekend both got huge deliveries. Right? Spider, when you open up the door and saw that gigantic delivery on your doorstep, we got it from Team Logano, who's our brotherhood in Coca-Cola. He'd lit us up. Team Logano had lit us up with merch. And I'm telling you, it's one of those things where, I don't know, Coke is like one of those warm, fuzzy things around NASCAR. They've had the relationship with them for a quarter of a century. It's the best thing to drink at the track, particularly the Coke Zeros. I'm doing a heavy today just because of all that Outback that I had before. But so enjoying a Coke while watching a race is a perfect marriage. We're happy to be part of this Coke family. We're having a great time with it. Is this the best Coke of all time? There's only one way to find out, and that's to give it a taste. Guys, Twisted History, if you guys will give me just a couple of seconds. This weekend was, this Monday was the anniversary of 9/11. I think it's been 22 years since then. Everyone kind of knows my story who follows Barstool. My family was affected by it. I write a big blog every year, and blah, blah, blah. But I do remember certain things that happened after 9/11, and there's those iconic sports moments about when sports was coming back. And the number one thing that leaps to mind was when George Bush threw out that first pitch in Yankee Stadium. Because W got up there, he was in the vest. He had I think he had like the double bulletproof vests on. So he probably didn't have any business towing the rubber and throwing a BB like he did. But I thought that was a great moment in American history. Like, I love watching that. Makes me tear up every time that I see that. I had no idea how NASCAR responded after the 9/11 attacks. So I'm sitting at home on 9/11 and I looked it up. I just didn't know what they did, and it was equally fucking awesome. Now, I know how young you guys are, but do you know what NASCAR did after 9/11? Does anyone
I don't.
Here know? Oh, good. Then I'm glad I'm saying this. So after 9/11, NASCAR had to move the New Hampshire 300 because September 11th, New Hampshire was running on the 16th. So that had to be postponed until November. So the following week, that race, which was the 2001 MBNA Cal Ripken Jr. 400, was the first race since the attacks. And
how did he have his own race?
What's that? No, so it's the MBNA 400, but NBNA made it the NBNA Cal Ripken Jr. 400 because after the race on Sunday, he was then being flown to Baltimore to play in that final game, which was, the biggest sports story of all time, right? Retiring with, the Ironman and stuff like that. So that's what was going around. That was going on around the race in 2001. Lee, did you?
No, I was thinking of something else. The day that he broke the streak was the day I was born. Actually,
Oh, really? Get out of here. Yeah. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So as he's coming down to the end of the career in 2001, the race is dedicated to him on Sunday. He was supposed to play his last game. That game was actually delayed also because of September 11th, but it doesn't matter. So the Grand Marshal is Cal Ripken. That's cool enough, right? Everybody in the stadium, it was Dover, I believe. Everybody got flags. Everyone got like little American flags. So it was very fucking cool. Lee Greenwood belts out that God Bless the USA thing. I watched this. I'm all teared up when I was watching this. You could barely hear him because everyone is chanting USA, USA. Tanya Tucker comes out and sings the national anthem. Same thing. Absolutely. It was awesome. All the cars had flags on them. All the cars had a flag emblem somewhere on them that was a little more pronounced than it normally would be. But Ken Schrader removed every sticker. All of his sponsors took off every sticker, and he painted the whole car an American flag for that one race. Ken Schrader, awesome. Which is an awesome thing to do. And then 10 years after that, oh, you're wearing a Ken Schrader fucking shirt right now. Look at us. We're representing. That's a skull one. 10 years after that, the M&M's car decided to honor Ken Schrader. Kyle Busch was in it, and they took all the M&M shit off it and made it a 100% American flag motif with Never Forget on the back of the car. So it just the coolest shit in the world. And for people who have never been to a live NASCAR race, first of all, shame on you. Secondly, you can bring coolers. NASCAR is one of the only sports I know where you can bring coolers that are a certain dimension, so load it up with food, beer, whatever, juice box for the kids, and it fits under your seat. And it makes it approachable for people who don't have enough money to pay big concession prices. Like, that's what NASCAR does. It brings it to the people. But because it was after 9/11, they weren't allowed to bring in the coolers for security reasons, right? So what does NASCAR do? They drop the concession prices. Every concession price was lowered so that way people who otherwise couldn't afford it could go up and get a couple of beers during the game. I know for a fact that Yankee Stadium found out that George Bush was coming. They probably pumped up the sushi prices and all that shit, right? Fuck that. Try that in a small town. So they brought the concession prices down. I'm talking to you right now. This is fucking America, right? Don't you guys think that?
No, that's awesome.
Teams were encouraged not to fly to the track because, you see everyone's choppering in or out. The NASCAR on NBC's helicopters were grounded during the race, obviously. I believe they released white doves instead of having the flyby, and they had all the first responders there on the track during the national anthem. You really should look this up. And then guess who wins the fucking race? Dale. So Dale Earnhardt Jr., who has to carry, like, remember after his dad died and he has to, like, carry that mantle of doing that? He wins the goddamn race. The checkered flag, by the way, is being waved with an American flag. They got the double flag for this fucking thing. He wins. He says, give me an American flag. Somebody brings him out a big boy. A big boy. So he kind of jams it in. He holds it. He starts doing the Polish victory lap. And I watched the interview. He's like, I couldn't go too fast because it would have ripped out of my hand, but I couldn't go too slow because the flag would have hit the ground. So you got Dale Jr. winning, doing the Polish victory lap with the American flag, everybody doing this with like half-price beers. NASCAR killed it when everybody else returned to 9/11. And so if you didn't know about it, now you know, and I think you're a better person because of it. Let's look into Bristol. That's a worthwhile one, isn't it, guys? Doesn't it make you want to fucking maybe sign up for the military?
No, not that, but I want to watch this full race.
Yeah.
Like, not even highlights. I want to just see this full race.
See
It
the whole
sounds
goddamn
sounds
thing.
awesome.
So what are we doing this weekend? So the Cup Series is rolling into Bristol. The Bass Pro Shops night race scheduled Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on USA. 500 lapper concludes the Cup Series playoff round of 16. 4 drivers will be eliminated from title contention at the checkered flag. Let's make some picks. Let's make some picks and put a bow on this fucking thing. How do you guys feel about this race? Who wants to go first? I'm thinking that it might be Quiggs. Quiggs, you want to go first?
I'll go first, yeah.
Yeah, he very rarely goes first, Spider. And by the way, Quiggs didn't put in my bet, Keselowski over Buescher on the head-to-head, which I hit on.
Oh, did you take that?
Yeah, I want to. Maybe I just mentioned it in passing, but I thought that Brad was just sick of losing. So I thought that it would be kind of strong with it. But did you hit again this week? Who hit this weekend?
Nah.
Did nobody hit?
I had Harvick top 10. I think he finished 11th. I had Kyle Larson, who just didn't to win. That didn't happen.
Who do you like this week?
I got 3 picks, and my first one is Kyle Busch plus 1,200. He's historically, or in the past 10 races, by far the best driver at this track. He's a playoff driver. He's probably not could use a good race to really lock himself in there. And I like him at plus 1,200. And then my next 2 picks, I'm doing something which I don't usually think is a good idea, but I'm going with non-playoff drivers for this.
Mm-hmm.
I like Chase Elliott top 3. I really wanted to pick him to win it, but I don't think he's going to be making any crazy moves to make sure he gets the win. But I think if he has a great race, he's in that car, I think he could pull off a top 3. No odds on that yet. So, but I would expect it to be plus 300 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going Eric Jones top 10. He's had some success at this track. Now's the time more than ever, I think, to be betting on Eric Jones. And he's plus 6,000 to win the race.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd assume you get top 10 at maybe 250, 350. So I'll take him at whatever number that comes in at. But those are my 3 picks.
Okay, so Kyle Busch, Chase top 3, and Eric top 10.
Yep.
Got it. Spider, you want to go or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go. I got so I'm looking at race data from the last 4 races from these drivers. And 3 of the 4 races have either come from Kyle Larson, who I'm going to take outright to win, who's plus 575. He has one of the 4 races. And then 2 of them were won by RFK, each of them with a win themselves here. So I'm going to take Kyle Larson plus 575. I don't see odds on RFK team to win, but I would take that on my card as well. And then I'm not going to add it onto my card, but I am intrigued by Martin Truex 16-1. So those are the plays I'm looking at. I'm going to be riding with Larson and RFK, but look out for Truex. And I think he's got good value at 16-1 when his teammates are half that at plus 800. He's still in the playoffs. He had a shit race last week. He's going to need a big answer here, and he's looked like dominant all season. So pretty good value, in my opinion, on Truex 16-1. I also would consider, but I'm not going to put it on my card, Denny Hamlin is the top Toyota in this race. So
Okay.
those are the
I
plays.
might add RFK to win to mine.
Yeah. So
I'll wait to see the odds, but if those are good odds, I like that pick a lot.
Yeah. So Larson to win, RFK to win are my bets for this weekend.
I got to throw a unit on Eric Jones. I mean, I don't know if that's a stupid thing to do because it's the long shot plus 6,500, but I just like the way that he's been handled. And anyone can win, I think, right? Particularly with these restarts. I mean, if somebody gets out in front and gets, I think, so I am. I'm going to throw, that's my long shot. I never pick winners.
Plus 6,000 for a guy who has some sort of chance of winning it is good.
Yeah,
most of the time,
I said unit. Have unit.
Most of the time, somebody's plus 6,000. There's no chance on earth they're going to win. There's a world where Jones could win this race.
Yeah,
it's probably not going to happen.
No,
but
it's probably not. Yeah, I'm throwing money out the window. But I'm telling you too, I haven't been picking winners lately. I've been trying to do top threes and top fives. I'm not doing that this week. I'm taking Joey Logano to win at plus 1,600. That might be a little bit biased because we got the gigantic swag from them this week. But, you know, I think Joey did very well in a car this week. Like, I think he's outperforming. So if they can find some speed at Bristol, I like Joey Logano. And somebody please talk me out of betting Kevin Harvick to win here because I don't. You do?
Yeah,
I don't see a season where neither Chase or Kevin Harvick doesn't have a win. So
I've been on the bet Kevin Harvick train lately. Everything that I pick, he does just short of it.
Right.
Like top 10, he finishes 11th. Top 3, he finishes 4th. I think he's done that for like my past 3 bets. Is whatever. I haven't picked him really to win. It's just like top 3, top 5. He always finishes one place short of what I need.
Do you guys mind if I have 4 picks? I have 4 picks to win this week.
At 10.
I'm going Eric Jones to win at plus 6,500, Joey Logano to win at plus 1,600, Kevin Harvick at plus 1,400, and I am going to throw something on Chase because of that fucking thing at plus 1,000 to win. I'm not screwing around with anything else. Those are my 4 picks to win. That's what I'm pulling for this weekend.
I got one more.
Go.
I don't know if I'm going to add him, but I think William Byron plus 800 is worth a look. His teammate Kyle Larson is already through to the next round of playoffs. And he's probably going to be getting all the attention. And then his other teammate, Chase Elliott, is 10-1. So I don't know. It seems like Byron's going to be given the priority in the Hendrick garage. They're going to need to get that thing in tip-top shape if they want to keep his playoff chances in the best shape possible. So for that reason, I think he might be worth a look as well. But I'm sticking with my card, Larson and the RFK guys. Watch out for Byron. Watch out for Truex.
Nobody likes Chris Bell, huh?
I don't know if
I don't dislike him. There's other drivers that
he just
I like
can't
better.
find a way to win. Like
Yeah, that too. Even
he's
with
the king of everything going right before the green flag waves. He's great at qualifying, practice, and then something always goes wrong. Like he's had to have the pole more than anybody else this year.
I think you're right, and he gets pushed down like on the top 3. So the top 3s are out on the Barstool Sportsbook. So Chase Elliott is plus 275.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and then what did you want to see? A top 10 for Eric Jones? Plus 210.
Available.
Plus 210 on a top 10. I don't like that.
No, I thought that was going to be closer to like 350.
He's plus 700 on a top 5, though, if I can hit you onto that. Plus 700 on a top 5. I don't mind it.
I think he's going to be like 8th.
All right.
I might swap that out with RFK to win.
Okay. Yeah, Spider was in love with the RFK bet now. Head to head, just everyone, if you want to take a look, Chris Bell is head to head against Brad Keselowski on that. So I might jump on the Brad K train 2 weeks in a row to beat Chris Bell on the short track. That's it. All right, so that's it for us. Congratulations again to Steven for getting this ride with Outback. And we wish him the best of luck. He'll be wheeling the 22 tonight, Thursday night, right, in the truck race. So congratulations to him. I'm looking for a big weekend from him and from the 22 on Sunday. If you guys have a shot, please go to any of the Barstool platforms and check out the Most Dangerous Game Show?
Barstool's Most Dangerous Game Show. Yeah, so Steven and his dad were rooting for you. Hopefully they can pull out a win in the Outback truck. Or at least make a good run out of it. But yeah, Most Dangerous Game Show, episode 4 coming next Tuesday. If you haven't seen the first 3 episodes, go check them out. I competed alongside 7 of my coworkers, and we did all sorts of Fear Factor Survivor style challenges as we lived in the mountains of Colorado for a week. So no spoilers. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. 3 episodes are live, and episode 4 of 5 drops next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Definitely worth a watch.
Absolutely. Anything else we need to talk about before we leave?
No.
All right, cool.
So.
Then thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you next week on Rubbing is Racing.